Hey lovely ladies, Christians, and crazy kids. Yesterday I was in the bookstore for 2 hours and I just came home afterwards and was so happy that I found a hobby that I enjoy so much. I love reading. I don't think most people know that about me, but I absolutely love it. But it wasn't always the case. I used to be just completely uninterested in reading, and even when I first started reading, I restricted myself to reading just like urban fiction just because I didn't even know where to go for book recommendations and everything. So that gave me the idea of making a video for people who are just starting out reading, people who might be in a book slump and need something to pick them up. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 8 quick reads. Although many of these are wonderful books and I love all of them for different reasons, they're not all necessarily my favorite books. They're just books that either had a story that had me wanting to plow through to the end, or I read them in 1 or 2 sittings because they are such quick books. So my first 2 quick reads are The Sun Is Also a Star and Everything Everything by Nicola Yoon. Both of these come in about 300 pages and they're both super cute, adorable stories in my opinion. Everything Everything is about a girl named Maddie who's basically allergic to the entire world. She has to stay in her home. A boy moves in next door and they just start to develop a friendship, and it is just cute. The Sun Is Also a Star was a similar experience, just around 300 pages. It was a very quick read. It's about Natasha and Daniel, who are basically from 2 different worlds. Natasha is at risk of being deported. Daniel is like going for a very important college interview, and it just follows both of their days and what unravels in the next 24 hours in their lives. It's just a very, very cute book and a very quick read. The next book is my favorite book. I actually need to read it because everything's just not fresh like it used to be, but it's called Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers, and I absolutely love this book. When it was recommended to me by a friend, I just looked at it and was like, girl, like, I'm trying to expand my horizons, not go back to the 1800s. But looks can be very deceiving because this was the most beautifully written, thought-provoking, inspiring video that I have ever read. And it's just, if you're ever wanting to venture in Christian fiction, please pick this one up. You won't be disappointed. Although it's a lengthier book, I'm recommending it as a quick read because if you get drawn into this story, you will finish it as soon as possible. The next quick read is A List of Cages by Robin Rowe. This is actually one of my favorite reads this year. Absolutely love this book. It's about Adam, Blake, and Julian. Adam is basically this just super lovable kid. Everyone in the high school loves him. He just has an ideal life, and his relationship with his mom is great and everything. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have Julian, who was once Adam's foster brother, who he hasn't seen in forever. And you get to see how Julian's life has kind of taken a different turn. And I just love the characters in these books. As someone who's an administrator at a group home, I was just drawn into Julian and felt for him so much because I deal with kids every day who are in foster care, who have experienced neglect and abuse and trauma, and being able to be in his head so much was just such an amazing experience for me. I read this in a very, very short period and absolutely loved the book. Do feel like in some parts it's a little bit difficult to get to if you have high level of sensitivity for just kids going through a lot, but it's just a great read that I absolutely flew through and loved. The next I'm recommending is a poetry book, and you can finish this one in 1 sitting because it's so tiny, but Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur. It's just a quick poetry book that's divided into 4 different sections: the hurting, the loving, the breaking, the healing, and you just it's almost like you feel like you're reading her journal as she's experiencing heartbreak and closure and establishing who she is as a woman. This is just one of those poetry books that you see tons of the quotes floating around on Instagram and Tumblr and everything. I felt that not all the poetry was relatable in it, but some are just, you read it and you have to read it 20 times after just because it's so beautiful or so just it just gets you here. But yes, if you're someone who likes poetry or wants to just see what that realm is like, definitely pick up Milk and Honey. Out of the several poetry books that I've tried, this one is by far my favorite. The next book is When Dimple Met Rishi. I actually finished this yesterday and absolutely loved it. I finished this one in 2 to 3 days. Both of them are Indian, however, Dimple is very non-traditional. She doesn't want to do anything her mom and dad tell her to do, just a little rebel at heart, and she's very into coding. So she wants to go to Insomnia Con for this program that will allow her to develop apps, and she's very invested in that because that's what she wants to do with her future. And on the other end, you have Rishi, who is basically trying to be the ideal son and get married at a young age and focus on financial stability and all of those things instead of, like, you know, pursuing his dreams. They encounter each other and it basically just tells how their stories unfold together, and that's all I'll say about it. So the next book is Niecy's Lullaby by Chris Burks. This was actually recommended to me several years ago by Misha, one of my lovely ladies here. It's only 200 pages, so you can literally finish this book in one sitting. It's a very quick story and one that you just get into very, very quickly as well. I've actually read it 2 times, and I'm sorry, but I just don't remember much outside of I really, really enjoyed it both times that I read it. Her father, Jesse, and Ruby just kind of fall apart with their marriage and separate, and in the process Ruby becomes very abusive and aggressive and just a terrible mother in the process, and kind of just shares insight on how Niecy copes with that, how she finds her inner strength through it, how she begins to be the kind of care provider for her siblings and everything. And it was just a really, really good story, a very quick read, and one that I won't regret reading again when I do to refresh my memory on it. And that's all for now. If you have any books that help spark your interest with reading, or was generally just a quick read for you that wasn't intimidating, wasn't challenging, or the story was just that good that it made you want to finish the book, please put those in the comments below. I also started a Goodreads account not too long ago, and I've put in just enough to make myself not look like a newbie on there, but I am pretty active on there. If you have a Goodreads account or plan to create one, please put your username below. You can find me as KandeeLovesYa on there, but I'm always looking for book recommendations, what other people are reading, what other people review books, just so I can build my library up a bit. So yeah, just drop your names below or find me on there so we can be friends.